All right, I think we're about ready to get started. So we have a good turnout today, and the presenters here deserve it. So everyone here today has charged through 10 weeks of xAPI and articulate storyline tutorials with me. They've used my tutorials, outside resources. They've done their own research in some cases to really make some cool things possible with articulate storyline and xAPI. And the name of the game here is data collection. So if you're not familiar with xAPI, it's a technical specification for the learning and development industry, and it lets people collect a lot more data so that they can get a better understanding of how people are interacting with their courses, what choices people are making on questions, and then eventually using that data to improve the e-learning experience. So we have 6 presenters today. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. We're trying to limit each presentation to about 5 minutes or so, and then 5 minutes or so of questions. But we'll see how it goes. If you do have any general questions about xAPI and what's possible with it, throw it in the chat, and I'll try to answer it there. But we are going to get started with Taylor Vellucci. She's going first. She has a cool project, and I will invite her on screen now.
Hi everybody. Mine was a little delayed, so I don't know what the introduction was, but I'm Taylor Vellucci. I'm happy to be here. And without further ado, let me just share my screen and I'll talk about my project while we go through it. I did a Harry Potter sorting quiz. It should be popping up on the screen now. And the whole thing about the quiz was I just wanted to see how people were responding with their answers and then what house they actually got sorted into. So I'll just go through it really fast to kind of show what the quiz looked like in case people didn't take it, which is fine. But so every time I click one of these answers, a statement is firing off. And I did it so the user is randomly generated based off of Devlin's tutorial. I can post a link near the end. But one of the main points of my quiz was that I wanted to see where people thought they should be placed and then where they actually got placed. So I was just clicking random things. I don't know what house I'm going to get into. I'm a Ravenclaw. But you can see, if I refresh this, it's going to be loading, sorry. But you can see that I just was taking this quiz and my actor name is just a random user number. And then the data is going to show what people were choosing for every question, which is, not as interesting as what I was actually trying to find out. But it seemed like when I was collecting the data and talking to people about my quiz, that people were saying that they thought they would be in Gryffindor or the Deputy in Ravenclaw, but then they'd get in Hufflepuff or something. But as more quizzes were taken and data was coming in, it seems like for the most part, people were placing themselves pretty well. In Gryffindor, the people who got placed into Gryffindor, almost 37% thought they would be there. And then Ravenclaw was the second choice. And same for Ravenclaw, 40% of people thought they'd be in Ravenclaw and got there. The only one that was kind of weird was Hufflepuff. Nobody thought they'd be in Hufflepuff. Only 6%, 7% thought, one person thought they would be in Hufflepuff. And 8 people thought they would be in Gryffindor. So I guess we need more Hufflepuff representation or something because nobody thinks that they are one. But obviously there was some issues with my quiz. Let me get off the data. Because it's only 9 or 10 questions, so you're not getting a full, the quiz could be wrong. I mean, it's just part of more questions that I pulled. But overall, I was just excited to see where people thought they would be versus where they actually are. And I think it came out pretty well. Most people thought they would be where they were. So that's
cool.
it.
Thanks, Taylor. That's awesome. So you know how people are responding to each question. Can you show us the self-selection question? how popular were, how are people placing themselves? So like the last question where it's like, where do you want to place yourself?
Yeah. Okay, we can go to that question. Here's the self-selection question, like pie chart.
Taylor, you're not sharing your screen.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know I closed it. Okay. I'm sharing now, right? Can you see it now?
Yeah. So it looks
Okay.
like Ravenclaw, Gryffindor, and Slytherin were pretty even, but Hufflepuff people didn't really think they would be fitting in there.
Yeah, there's just not a lot of going on with Hufflepuff. Like Ravenclaw and Gryffindor and Slytherin were like almost equal, like between 27 and 30%. And then Hufflepuff is just 13. So it just, I don't know, something's going on.
Cool. Okay, you can stop sharing, I think. So I'm sure people looking at this are imagining how you can create pie charts like this for, for quiz questions and stuff, and like, product e-learning quizzes like in corporate jobs and stuff like that. Does anyone have any questions for Taylor about how she set this up or the data or anything like that?
There might be a delay too. I'm not sure.
We'll give it a minute.
Yeah. It was funny seeing what people would say they were.
Cool. Yep. Well, if there are no questions, I think we can go on to Joe Steubenrock.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye, Taylor. Okay, I'm going to invite Joe on screen for his presentation. Oh, yeah, it seems there is a delay. I see some questions coming in now. When we get to questions next time, we'll make sure we give it a couple of minutes. Maybe we can have Taylor back up after Joe. We'll see. Okay. Hello, Joe.
Hi, thanks for tuning in, everyone. So I decided to implement the xAPI from Devlins tutorials into a demo course. It's a concept course where I'm trying out a soft skills branching scenario. And my approach was to, after some brief introductory information, dump the learner into the scenario itself where they're picking conversation choices. And then at the very end, tell them how they did, highlight areas where they did well or didn't do well, and give them resources to consult on their own if they want to learn more. And to test, thinking if this were a real project, thinking about how would I track, were the users just clicking through, were they spending time on their decisions, and then were they consulting the resources I made available? If I wasn't pushing the resources on the learner, did the learners then consult them for themselves? So I'll just walk quickly through this course real quick, sharing my screen. Devlin, shout at me if this isn't visible.
Nope, it's looking good.
All right, so as soon as the course loads, very much like Taylor, I use Devlin's tutorial to generate a random username and number that gets fired immediately. When the learner clicks start, that then begins a timer for the course duration, for how long they spend on the course, and also fires off a statement that they've begun the course. Then the learner moves through some basic information, setting up the scenario. And when they land on the first question, now this slide has its own separate timer that's being tracked. And on this run through, I'll answer very poorly. So we're imagining this user selects one answer. That fires off a statement about how long they spent to make that selection and what the selection was. Same thing again here. They have chosen very poorly, and so they get dumped out to this outcome very quickly. They have bypassed many steps of the conversation. And on this screen, it fires off a statement with their total score to the system. And that score is hidden behind the scenes, determines the text they have here on the outcome. And then this final screen here pops up the 5 main areas. Their 2 responses were not ideal, and then they managed to bypass these areas. So you can imagine the user then saying, oh, well, what did I do wrong in that first part about the setup? They read and consult the information. They do the same thing about handling emotions in this difficult conversation. This is supposedly in an ICU setting. So then they try again. And I'll go quickly here, and we'll just very quickly select B for every single answer. That gets us through each step of the conversation, but without a perfect score. Hopefully this is not lagging on all your screens too much. Here we are. We have a different outcome. A different score is fired off. And now they decide to check one more thing. Oh, what was good about my strategy? They consult that resource. And now they've decided to exit the course, or to finish the course, and the course exits. So moving over to our xAPI dashboard. Now, I didn't do all the fancy visualizations that Taylor did, but we can now track very quickly this overview here. We'll ignore that first statement. That was just a test this morning, where you can see where they began the course, what their answers were. They answered A. They spent about 9 seconds per slide. They had a total score of 0. Let me change my columns here so we can see a bit more. And then we can see they consulted the setup resource, consulted the emotions resource, and then have attempted again. We see that they're making now another attempt, and then they're moving through the course answering B each time. They got a much higher score, 8 out of 10, and then they click complete, and we can see that they spent 2 minutes and 19 seconds running through the course. We also get to see how they consulted the strategy resource at the very end. So I conceived of this as just a way to track exactly how users were using the course. And I'll stop sharing my screen now. And thanks a lot for watching.
Nice, Joe. So I think we're going to start getting some questions in the chat. You know, I love in that project, what I love the most is that review slide. I think it's awesome that you said like you did this well, you know, you can improve on this. Just from an instructional design perspective, I think that's really good, and it's designed well. And yeah, thanks for highlighting the duration. Like that's important. You know, you see someone failed and then passed, but they spent 2 minutes on the entire thing. If you see that data on the back end for a live course, it's, you know, you kind of know people are just trying to brute force their way through the experience. They're not really taking the time to consume it and learn. So I think that duration data can really illuminate what the user experience is like. Like, you know, oh, I failed. Oh, we'll try again. Oh, I passed. There we go. Finish the course. So 2 minutes and I'm done. Yeah.
And the question about, yes, that was entirely all storyline, and even storyline assets other than the icons were from Flat Icons, that website. They're free, but everything was in storyline or JavaScript.
Nice. Cool. Okay, do we have any other questions for Joe about how he made this possible, or about the experience itself, or anything like that? We'll give it a minute. I know there's probably a delay. There's a decent number of people in here. And after this, we will have Elena Princey. Okay, Joe, just, I guess, keep an eye on the chat to see if anyone else has any questions.
Yeah, I'll answer later. Keep asking questions. Thanks a lot, everyone.
All right, thanks, Joe. Okay, so I'm inviting Elena Princey up on the screen now. And that's an interesting idea, Brian. Cool. Hi, Elena.
Hello, everyone. Hey, so I'm Elena, and today I'm going to show you guys a little project I put together in Storyline using xAPI, following Devlins tutorials. And the topic I have is widget support, so it's just like a brief prototype that I'm going to show you guys. So let me share my screen.
And Elena, I know we talked about our project a bit before. Can you tell us can you tell us more about this prototype and like why you made the prototype? I think it's kind of interesting, and like how it might apply to your job.
Yeah. So here, I'll go to the front screen of it now. So what I've put together is a series of yes and no questions, and the user will go through, and as you can, I can start here, like, is your widget scratched? Yes or no? No. Does your widget turn on? Yes. Has your widget been in contact with water? Looks like you need to speak with your local widget support team. Does this fix your problem? And so this kind of, as the user goes through, as they click on each yes and no icon, it will send a statement. And I'm able to view whether, what are the common problems, what the users are experiencing more often than not. And you can see here a list of all this. So this is by the object. I can see, oh, they answered this question, this question. And what I really love, like Taylor was showing, is like this dashboard here. So I can look at different users' responses. So how many said their widget was scratched, for instance? 33% said yes, it was. This amount said no. And I can go through it based on each question. And it's significant because I can see, a lot of people aren't having trouble with their widget turning on, but maybe they are having more trouble because it's getting in contact with water. And that's an issue that needs to be addressed. And lastly, you can see, like, did this fix this problem? So in this instance, like 42% said, no, it didn't fix my problem. That's not a very good number. So maybe I need to go back and change what I created in Storyline. It's obviously not that effective. And what I really love about xAPI, so if I were to make this in Storyline and give it out to a user, they can go through it and think, oh, wow, this wasn't very helpful at all. But I'm not going to know it as the developer. The organization isn't going to know that. And with having xAPI incorporated into this, I can tell in real time what they're choosing and how their experience was with using this project I created in Storyline. And so, yeah, that's, I know that's really brief. It's a really short project, but I think this really shows how even the most simple of projects, it can really give you a lot of information and really help your organization change different things. Because otherwise you wouldn't really know. Instead of sending out a survey after they go through the course, why not have it in real time? They click on it and it sends pretty quickly. So once they click the yes or no, I can just reload it in this Veracity Learning and I can see it update very quickly. So yeah, that's honestly all I have today. Thank you, Devlin, so much for having me on here. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks, Elena. And what I thought was cool about yours, like when we were talking about it before, is because you do some work on like the customer service front. So you were talking about this would be a prototype that you could like use like for your job. And I think getting that kind of information in a customer service context could be really helpful because, yeah, it's like giving you real-time insights into what kind of problems people are having.
Absolutely. And a lot of times I don't know what every user is experiencing. On my end, my computer may be up to date and things are going well, but on their end, they're not. So this is, it's a really great opportunity to see what other users are experiencing and see different commonalities and trends and so on. So.
Cool. I'm going to ask if anyone has any questions for you. I know there's a little bit of a lag. But we'll see. I mean, yeah, it's a similar project. I mean, the idea in a lot of these is the same. We're tracking what people are doing in Storyline. And, this is just like driving home that point that every time you have a multiple choice question, you can put together these nice pie charts that show you exactly how people are responding to them. So you can see which questions are tricking people, which questions are people performing really poorly on. And this is more in the context of like graded questions. So you can kind of see, what are the distractors, where are people getting tripped up? Do I maybe need to include this question or do I need to include more content to help people answer this question correctly? So yeah, that's one of the strongest, use cases for xAPI in an e-learning context is getting that question by question pie chart of how people are performing. So.
I see a question here.
Yeah,
so actually I help people every day in my job with different tech problems. And a lot of times it's not really tracked that easily. We track our calls and everything, but this would be a great thing to incorporate in our company just because they can go through it and we can see exactly what's going on and how many users are having this problem. A lot of times there's a delay and like maybe the call will fail and things aren't tracked correctly. This is always going to give us, I think, a more accurate idea of what users are experiencing. So I work with like Kaltura, Zoom, different tech issues within that. So I think it would be a great thing to implement and give us a lot more insightful information.
Yeah, and this is like our prototype to get xAPI working and start seeing how people are responding to questions. But in a production environment, you would obviously want to tailor these questions to the software or technology that you're troubleshooting and supporting people with. So if someone has a Zoom issue, you can shoot them over that link. Oh, can you fill out this self-assessment? And you can see the data, and then that data will aggregate, and you can see, okay, wow, we have a lot of people struggling with this aspect of Zoom. Maybe we should put together a support article or something like that.
Right.
That's awesome. Christian asked, to what extent can you customize the dashboard? And I think I can answer this one. Veracity is awesome. So there's a chart builder, and that's what Elena and Taylor used to build those pie charts. You can build a pie chart, a bar graph, all different ones. And that one, you don't need to use like any coding for. You just kind of pick which parts of the xAPI statement you want to show. You can set limits on it, stuff like that. But Veracity also has this language called VQL. I think it's just Veracity query language. And you can write queries for any part of the xAPI statement. You can even show bar graphs that have like multiple bar graphs, like within each bar graph. Like you can get super in depth, but that requires like some coding. And they have some really in-depth documentation, but you can basically make any kind of visualization you can imagine using VQL. And you can do a lot with the chart builder, which requires no coding. And you can even do that on the free plan, which I think is pretty impressive. So that's a big reason why I've been loving Veracity Learning Record Store lately. Okay, so you want to create a flow chart for phone support, Lydia asked. And yeah, I think that's kind of the idea.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea. I write a lot of different articles and so on, like what's the most and what needs our attention more. Sometimes that's hard to gauge. And I think this would be really helpful and a lot of times new issues pop up. So it's great to see what users are experiencing. You never know day to day. So
nice. Okay. I see there's some questions in the ask a question. How much can the dashboard be customized? We touched on that one. Devlin, can you tell us full names? Yeah, I can post all the names for the presenters too, and they're all in the Slack channel. So if you're on the mailing list, just hop in the Slack channel. Everyone here is active in there and happy to answer questions on LinkedIn too, I'm sure. So at the end, we'll post everyone's LinkedIn if you're comfortable with it and name, because I'm sure some people might want to follow up with you and ask questions or talk about your project. Cool. Thank you, Elena.
Thank you, Devlin.
All right, I'm going to invite Nicole Avarello up on screen now. Well, try rejoining. It's saying that you attended, but you're not here. We're going to go to Sunit, and we'll go to you after Nicole. Sorry about that. Hi, Sunit.
Hi, guys. Thanks so much for having me. I'm going to share a project with you that I developed mainly as a personal development type of project. It's a gamified type of course. I wanted to create a leaderboard. I wanted to collect things like duration, send answer statements, final score, and I've got lots of ideas for other things I wanted to still do, but that's what I've sort of started out with. So let me show you what I've got. Okay, I'm sharing my screen. I hope you guys can see. I'm starting off first of all with collecting a name. And then I've got an avatar, so you can pick your avatar. So it's the theme is burrow racing, so you are kind of participating in a type of burrow race. I'm going to select Ben. And then I've got 3 sort of races. Each race contains 4 questions. So I'm collecting my activity statements based on users' responses to those questions. Okay, I've got some instructions coming up. And then when I start off, I've got a note here. So this is my name at the top. And then these other 2 names you'll see are names that I'm pulling from my leaderboard. So I'm kind of making it look like you're in competition with these other guys. And then I'm collecting answer statements on my questions. And I'm just going to show you the first couple of questions. I won't continue with the other ones. I just want to get to the end of this first little section. And I get a badge because I got full marks for this sort of section of the race. And then I can continue to the next part. And it follows very much a similar sort of theme. So it's just a different kind of design with other question types coming up. I'm not going to take you through the whole thing. I'm just going to show you what the leaderboard looks like at the end. So I need to fix this up so that it's a bit more clear what your name is, but I've just added the raw score. There's a total of 12 questions, and you can see who got 12 out of 12 and so on. So let me show you what information looks like on my LRS. I haven't set up any dashboards yet. I've got my send answered statements on my questions. I can see whether the question was answered correctly or incorrectly. And then I've got my final score here. And if I drill down into the code, I can at least go and look at duration and score and a couple of other things. So it's very basic to start off with. I can see a lot of additional things I can add on here. I think because there's a lot of usability issues in here that might be a little bit tricky. And I think that's where having this information available might also tell me where people are leaving my course. So I think that's probably how I would use it to try and fix up and troubleshoot usability type of things. Yeah, that's a quick summary of my project.
Nice. Thank you, Sunit. You can stop sharing your screen unless
There we go.
Yeah, I think that was awesome. I mean, I literally laughed out loud on that screen where it was like astonishing because you answered them right or whatever. That was really good. And I think it's awesome because I haven't seen your project before. I mean, some of the others have, looked at their projects. So this is my first time really seeing it. I think it's so cool that you pull in for the competitors, you're pulling names from the top of the leaderboard to like show who you're like competing with. So I haven't seen that before. I thought that was a really good idea. Let's see if anyone else has questions for you. But yeah, that course looked pretty fun. I really liked the theme and stuff. That's good.
Thank you.
And yeah, leaderboards are fun too. So I'm glad to see that you made use of that tutorial. I don't know if anyone else included a leaderboard for this show and tell. But we'll see. We still have a few more presenters. Sharon says she's not familiar with how to build a leaderboard. So I've seen some questions in the chat about like looking at the code and stuff like that. This all comes from like a 10-session series on xAPI and Storyline. It's kind of hard to dig into the code like on this one call because we dug into the code over 10 hours on 10 calls. So it's kind of you need a decent bit of the knowledge kind of builds on itself, but once you get it down, you can use it on your projects fairly easily, I would say. Yeah, the leaderboard aspect was really cool. Okay, Suna, I think I don't see any questions coming in, but we'll keep an eye on the chat. And if people have questions, you can maybe respond there. Cool.
Great. Thank you. Thanks so much. Bye, guys.
Okay, so I can invite Nicole on the screen now. So we will invite up Nicole Avarello. Nicole, how about this? How about we see if it connects for you. And if it does, while the next person is presenting, just hide your video and stop your audio and you'll present next, but we'll keep you as a presenter. So maybe it's just taking a while, but we will next invite up Will Prestis, and that is our last presenter. Yeah, Crowdcast acts up sometimes, but hopefully we can get this working. All right, Will, I'm inviting you up. Hello, Will.
Hello.
All right, I'm gonna hand it over to you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me? Well, I think so. Well, my name is Will Prestes. I'm casting from São Paulo, Brazil. And after watching Devlins webinars, I decided to build a video player in Storyline. And so I could track users' interactions with the video. Oh, I think Nicole is on. Hi, Nicole.
Nicole made it. Nicole,
All right.
just stop your video and mic until
Okay.
it's done, and then you'll go last. Thank you.
All right. Okay, cool. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys. Just a sec. Okay, the reason why I built a video player from scratch is because I couldn't actually control the video from embedded videos in Storyline from a JavaScript. I couldn't find a way to do it. So I'm going to show you guys how it works. It's a very short video. It has like 25 seconds. So I'm just going to click in a few buttons so you guys can see how the data shows afterwards. So I can pause the video. I can skip 5, 10 seconds. I can skip back. I can pause again. And here I put some flags so I could see how my code is behaving. All right, so let me just, okay. And now the video is finished. For that, I tried to keep as close as possible to the public xAPI video profile. For those who doesn't know what an xAPI profile is a sort of a recipe, so people can use the same verbs and objects to keep it consistent. Okay, so let me refresh this. Okay, so here you can see all the verbs that the video was initialized, played, paused, synced, and when it finished, it's the verb to use is completed. The cool thing about this xAPI video profile is that I got the chance to play with extensions, which is something new for me, and you could track everything from here. It's like it's like 100% progress. So I finished the video. When you skip, you can actually track the time from and the time to when you're skipping it. So the idea is when I have this finish is to have a heat map of this specific video, so I can actually know what parts of the video are more relevant and which ones are not so relevant, which parts people are skipping when they're watching it. And here is some default data from Veracity LRS. So it just built some charts with my verbs and objects. It's not very relevant for now, so probably I should just work it a little bit more with some custom charts. And I think it's pretty much that.
Nice. Well, I think you can stop showing your screen unless someone has a question about it. But I mean, I think that's awesome. So you use the video profile. We weren't sure. Oh, wait, it says waiting for Will to reconnect. Okay. Sorry, I think I lost you for a second there. But yeah, I think that's awesome. I mean, I haven't used the video profile before. I get questions about it and I direct people to it. And I know you first talked to me about that and you weren't, we weren't sure if you were going to get it working, but I mean, that's awesome. You made a lot of progress very quickly. So maybe you should put together a tutorial or something about that and help the rest of us, because that's more than I've done. So that's awesome. You use the tutorials as like a starting off point, and then you just kind of dug in deeper on your own and learned what you needed to know to get the rest of the way. So I think the heat map will be awesome too, if you can look at it and see. I think like YouTube Analytics gives you stuff like that. So I have a meeting with Rob Chadwick at Veracity tomorrow. So I'm going to ask him if there's any easy way to do that. Because if you're using the video profile, I know that a lot of learning record stores have capabilities to display those kind of graphs based off of the profiles. So it might be easier than we think to display, to make that heat map. So
yeah, there's this specific extension called played segments, which has a specific syntax. That would be awesome. So you can see, every segment where you played and stopped.
Okay, nice. Yeah, so I'll ask about that, and I'll let you know in the Slack what the answer is.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Devlin.
Does anyone have any questions for Will about this? And I could get a bit technical, so we'll see where people want to take it. And I'll say it in the chat too, in case there's some lag. I think there is. All right. Well, we will keep an eye on the chat as always. Yes, very impressive. Good job, Will. Nice. Okay.
Thanks.
Now, last but not least, we have Nicole. Hopefully, no more technical issues. Okay. Bye.
Hi guys, I'm Nicole Avarello. Thanks for bearing with me. I've had some tech issues all week, so I've put my presentation in a presentation just in case you lose my sound. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and walk you through that. And we should be sharing. Okay, so through Devlin Peck's xAPI and Storyline workshops, I've experienced a very strong understanding of xAPI and JavaScript and application of and practice using xAPI and Storyline and the Veracity LRS. My project demo, I wanted to capture the basic levels of xAPI, so my demo incorporates xAPI statements on one of my work team's existing eLearning mini course templates. So that's a little different than the project demos you've seen so far, since you've seen full projects. I did it on a template, and by adding xAPI to our eLearning template, it will allow all instructional designers on my team to really visualize the data that can be collected on the type of interactions we're already using, and to choose which types of xAPI statements they want to copy over to their courses. And the LRS data, we can use it to track end user behavior, as you've seen. Some specific interest to my team would be the activity over time breakdown and the weekly traffic data. These are built-in ones. You've seen some built-in ones and some custom ones already. But right now on my team, we're really housing a lot more training outside of the LRS. We're using Rise a lot right now as performance support tools, and we're not keeping that in the LMS. So I think that would be really neat to see, are people visiting these performance support tools? Are they going back to it over time? And what does that traffic look like? So I'd like to take you to my course and show you that. Okay, so this is the template. Just gonna go through it quickly so you can see. I have xAPI statements on every single slide. I'm capturing, so time spent in the course as well as time spent on each slide. Slides with interactions like this one, I'm capturing different data like this one if they're viewing each card. I want to know if they're viewing the content. This one I could put it if they're viewing everything in the timeline. Right now I just have it basic if they're viewing the slide. And I do want to learn how to get the videos working. We use a lot of videos in our courses, so I'll have to learn that from Will. We have some practice questions. This template does not have a full quiz, but there are some practice questions that sends that data if they passed that or not. Another interaction, it sends what they are viewing here, and then they finish the course. This will send completion data to the LRS. And similar to the LRS as you've seen so far, I'm just going to refresh it for you. It's taken a second to refresh, but it is capturing all that data. For the questions, it's showing the success. I got them right in this case. It's showing that duration and the result. So I am going to stop sharing and see if they're, oh, actually I wanted to share a few more things with you guys, but I can just talk you through that. I wanted to talk about the learner experience. So We really want to discover where learners are spending their time and what resources they're using most often. And I think I talked about that a little bit when I shared our RISE course example. And by looking at that data, we can really focus any of our follow-up surveys or focus group questions and enhance our next round of edits or training to meet their needs. And we can narrow in on issues with any exam questions or content areas that can be enhanced by really looking at how well the users are doing by that success results and comparing it with the duration, so the time they're spending on the slides and in the objectives. And I really want to thank Devlin. These 10 weeks have been awesome. I've learned a lot, and I want to share my next steps. By putting this in the template, it just really opens the doors for what's next. Really, my team can decide what data we want to collect, and then I can continue to build out this template and go even further to create a trigger guide to go along with it, so xAPI can easily be implemented by any instructional designer on my team.
Nice, Nicole.
And that is together. Thanks.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. So yeah, I mean, because yeah, you're not the only instructional designer who needs to work on this. So by making it into a template and putting together a quick guide, you did the hard work. You went through the 10 weeks of tutorials. If you put together some systems in place, you can hand that off to coworkers, and all the hard work is already done. And when they publish, they'll be collecting that data too. So that's a really good idea of how to use this to kind of bring a whole team up to speed on xAPI without them having to actually do the coding. So nice idea. So if there are any questions for Nicole, let's see them in the chat. All right, we will keep an eye on the chat to see if there are any questions. But yeah, thank you, Nicole, for presenting. And can we also throw some claps in the chat or something to give it up for all of these presenters? I mean, that was awesome. Yeah, I loved seeing the projects, and I had seen some previews of some already, but some of them were brand new to me. So really good stuff. Lydia, the presentation and the template was a nice way to tie a bow on this crowdcast show and tell. Yes, I agree. Wonderful. Yeah, nice work, everyone. Oh, nice. Okay, good. The clap emoji is perfect. That's exactly what we were going for. Nice. Sharon, I appreciate you saying it was very smooth. We did have some technical hiccups, but we got there. We made it through. So we do have a little bit of time. I actually prepared a small little thing for the show and tell. Notice it's called the Articulate and xAPI show and tell, and not the Storyline show and tell. So what I have been working on, I'm working on a body of code that I can copy and paste into any RISE course and then send xAPI statements automatically to a learning record store. So this course is really basic, but I just want to show you what's in store. And I'm trying to make this into like a course where it shows you how to copy and paste the code and all of that good stuff. But, you know, whenever you view one of these things, say we view this, we can see Devlin experienced the C flashcard. And when when you click on one of these tabs, you can see I experienced the Gaining Insight accordion item. So I've been going through this for each type of interaction possible in Articulate RISE, and I'm trying to make it so that it pulls all of this data from the course itself. So the person doesn't need to write any code. It's just copy and paste this in, and it pulls the course title from the sidebar. It pulls the name of these tabs from the page itself, and yeah, that's what I'm working on. I've done it with like 6 of these interactions so far, but I'm trying to do it for all the questions and everything. So yeah, so that's been one of my latest projects. I wanted to show that off if we have time, and there will be more about that to come down the line. So also, I think it would be great if the presenters could go ahead and just post how you would like people to contact you. So, LinkedIn is good, but I know Will preferred email. But maybe if all of the presenters could just do that right now. I know there are some people here who probably want to ask you more about your project or how you accomplished what you did. So just if you could list your preferred way to be contacted. And then also we do have a Slack channel that I know everyone here, a lot of people here are already in, but that's a great place to ask questions, get feedback on things. And anyone who signs up for the mailing list automatically gets an invite link to that Slack channel. So that's awesome. Okay, and if anyone does have any other questions for the presenters or for me or about what's possible, let me know. We have been referencing these xAPI tutorials. So they're on my website. You go to tutorials, and then it's this very first thing right here, the full guide to xAPI and Storyline. It shows you how to do almost everything that you saw today. I mean, like we said, Will took it a step further with using that video profile. But if you want to track question responses and all of that good stuff, that even a leaderboard, all of those tutorials are here. So, you know, I'm sure any of us that presented today are happy to answer questions if you have them. I'm always around to help out with xAPI stuff. And yeah, I think I will go ahead and stop sharing. Thank you everyone who came. I hope you learned something new or found some inspiration for how you can use xAPI. And yeah, I will see you at the next live event. Bye-bye.